Hello everyone, good evening to you all who are joining us through internet, and today we are going to have an interview with one of the past presidents of the Ananda College Old Boys Association. That's none other than Dr. Ranjith Kabral. He is with us today, and he was very nice to have given his valuable time to get this interview of with a short notice, of course, I should say. So to start with, Doctor, I would like to take your memory back to your childhood age, which is nothing but a very usual question anybody would ask. So can you just tell us how would you recall your childhood, particularly who are your parents and what were they doing, and your sisters and brothers from that time?
Yes, fortunately, unfortunately, I was born in Malaysia, in Penang. I say fortunately because I have a better feeling of the country than anybody who have born here. I don't know if I may be wrong. My father was working with a British company in Penang, then I was born there. Then the war started in that area. Then father was forced to come to Sri Lanka with me and my mother. So we started our life here. Then I was attending a convent in Kelaniya as a temporary arrangement, because father had the idea of getting back to Malaysia after the war. And so we quietly settled down, and then halfway through there was an opportunity to enter Ananda. By then it was by examination. So the test was conducted at a particular day where I was summoned by Royal College as well as Ananda. So my father decided, no, I should drop the Royal College and go to Ananda. So that's how I entered Ananda, and then started my life from Mr. L.H. Methananda's time. Then ended up in Mr. S.A. Vijaytilaka's time. Entered the university in 1962, I believe. 62.
And your mother was a housewife?
Housewife. She was a housewife.
Okay.
Yeah,
any brothers or sisters?
I have my brother 5 years younger to me and a sister 20 years younger to me.
Okay. And how are they doing now?
They also retired and have their own lives in this part of the country. One is in Panathura, the one is in Mount Lania. My brother was working at a college as a registrar for the hostel for some time. Now he's a retired life and he's gone for more meditation.
So your brother hasn't had the chance of joining Ananda with you?
No, of course he was Anandian.
Oh, that's important to remember, because
he was Anandian. He was Anandian.
Just before you?
Yeah. After me.
After me, that's your 5 years younger. Yeah, 5 years. So you are the eldest of the family.
Yeah.
And you were born in Malaysia, and then thereafter you had your brother, and then the sister 20 years back. Most probably would have been in Sri Lanka, of course.
Yeah, my father planned to go to Malaysia, but my entering Ananda resisted his going back.
Okay, good. So but now being in two countries, one long spell in Malaysia, and then coming back to Sri Lanka, then you would probably be having some childhood remembrance. How did you mix with the people, the children in the Malaysia at that time, and then came back here? Language is of course an issue, definitely, but be apart. But what are the other remembrances that you have from your childhood days in Malaysia?
I vaguely remember how the Japanese occupation, how the Japanese were walking in front of our house in Penang. And also after coming back, came in a ship, and then from Colombo Harbour, then we came to the city in a rowing boat. That was the time, and I still remember my grandfather with a konde behind had a tea party at the GOH Hotel at that time, Grand Oriental Hotel.
So your your grandfather, grandmother, and also they were also all here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only my father went.
Okay. Right. So that now you were there.
What is important point here, when I came to Sri Lanka, I didn't know a word of Sinhala. I knew only English and Malay.
Okay. So still you recall Malay? Yeah.
No, I have forgotten.
Very vaguely. Yeah.
Very vaguely.
Okay. Fine.
Because then I had to do my Kiyavima අකුරු කියවීම අන්ඩ කිරොත්තොඩිය ප්‍රඥාරාම නායක තේරු.
So how old were you then?
About 6 plus 7,
Oh, right.
late as such.
Okay, so then you said you had early education when you came back to Sri Lanka in a convent, and thereafter through a competitive examination you got selected to Ananda. When was this in terms of year?
Believe it, 51 or 52.
51 or 52. So you entered into which class in Ananda?
Grade 1.
Straight
Form 1.
Form 1.
We call Form 1.
Form 1, okay. So you had the chance of joining that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
My class teacher was Mrs. Rajapaksa, G.W. Rajapaksa's wife.
Okay, right. That's very important point because so then okay, so you had the early education from grade 1 and then you went up to the advanced level examination.
Those days called higher education.
High school. Sorry, high school certificate. High school certificate.
HSC.
Yeah. And so can you just tell a little bit about your the time span at Ananda from grade 1 to the high school level, and what were you involved with, and any sports activities and any society that you have taken interested in or been
Quite
leading?
interesting. I think we had a all-round education at Ananda. Few examples I did matty work, pottery,
Okay.
that taught.
Okay.
Then there was a workshop where we had to do tinkering,
Okay.
metal work,
Okay.
as well as woodwork.
Okay.
Then we had art, which I was never good at art, but I was forced to do art.
Okay.
So that type of all-round education, I still remember when we were in grade Form 3, Methananda was the principal, Mr. Methananda. Mr. Methananda wanted us to learn Tamil, though we were going through medium of Sinhala.
Mhm.
Studies were in Sinhala, but Tamil was compulsory.
Okay.
Then we resisted because of the nationalistic feeling.
Okay.
But Methananda saw the future and wanted us to learn Tamil. But we resisted. Virtually we show a body language, we don't want to learn that para language,
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
right? But then he was smart enough to bring down a beautiful Tamil lady to teach us.
Okay.
Her beauty forced us to focus our mind into the Tamil classes. So 3 years Tamil was taught.
Thanks to that young
Young
and nice
lady.
looking lady.
Yeah.
Okay. And during your time, can you remember that who are your contemporaries in school who are now doing well in the?
Yeah, some are dead and gone.
Yeah.
Rohan Daluwatta, Harsha Seniratna, gynecologist, they were the school. Then Yataka Amaradas was 2 years, late Amaradasa was 2 years younger to us. Sunny Atavara was 2 years elder to me.
Okay.
Fast bowler who
Yeah.
came from
Yes.
Dharmaraja. Most of them have migrated. Ramya Siri, now doctor in New Zealand. BMA Balasuriya, senior to me, he was the chief. Then HB Jayasekara was the head prefect during our school time. He died recently. Only very few are surviving now. And I am one of those surviving at the age of 80 now.
Oh, touch wood that you would have a long life to come, because you don't see that you have got.
I believe that I'm in a
complaints.
departure lounge, so I'm
Yeah.
ready to for anything.
So these were the classmates or the contemporary that you have had associated with during your time. And any particular tutorial staff member that you could recall has been your guidance or has been your the master who made your life into a turning point?
Many.
Yeah, because there were people who said in the previous interviews also, okay, Mr. X was behind me and he was the man who made me where I am now.
Yeah, there are so many. One was A.B. Kahawata. I used to remember when I get marks for science, below 70 I get the ruler cut into my hand.
Mhm.
Because he demands that we should have more than 70.
Okay.
That is with a loving feeling. Then S.K.K. Suraj, who became a former minister.
Okay.
Characters. Then Kotaka Vachisramlu. Then C.M. Veeratna.
See you.
Right. Then Panika. Mr. Panikar, who taught science, but he didn't tell, but he was a mentor for us in his own way. D.S. Abhay Singh, Kirti Singh, vice principal those days, Mr. Kirti Singh, who taught us physics, then J.R.P. Surya Peruma, who taught. We were forced to learn Sinhala in our senior classes. So for the senior class, for that there was few teachers who came. Magama Sekara came and taught us Sinhala. Then J.R.P. Surya Peruma came and taught us Sinhala. J.R.P. Surya Peruma didn't teach Sinhala, but he taught us Marxism of Stalin, because he was a Marxist at that time. Then like that.
Okay. Doctor, any particular incident or kind of incidents that you do recall during your time at Ananda which you would not forget at all? Because sometimes people have, okay, when I was going through something, I got some marks, and then immediately I got the marks turned around by looking at something. Some kind of things you can recall?
Yes, very much. I think when we were in the Form 2, that is 7th standard in today's context, Mr. Surya S.K.K. Surya was the class teacher. We had trips every term. First term is 1-day trip, second term 2-day trip, third term 3-day trip.
Okay.
So in the first term 1-day trip, we were taken to Ratnapura, and we were strictly told not to eat anything or buy anything from outside the bus. So bus stopped somewhere, and we bought some kadala or something, and he identified 7 people who did this. I am one of those. So what he did was, at Ratnapura town, we went to see, I think, Manik Patal, other things. But he turned the vehicle, came back straight to school as a punishment.
So you all didn't have the chance of seeing the gym?
Nothing. Just came back, and then he caught us, the 7 people, and took us walking on the road like tapasas to Odi Pansala, Maradana, from college to the Odi Pansala, and got the Nayaka Thero to, we had to worship Nayaka Thero and confess us. We'll never do anything such thing in the future. So those are, we enjoyed. Though I was in top 7 in class, but we were a little bit, those are learning cycles for us. Okay. Kawat was one, then we had Mr. K.S. Pereira.
Okay.
I don't know, teacher. Then we had, I can't remember the name, K.S. Pereira, of course, my classmate was Suranimala also, D.B. Nihal Singh's brother. Mm-hmm. So Suranimala was, he was not interested in studying. So he was playing fun in class. I still remember Mr. K.S. Pereira, I wanted to slap him. He took the ring from his right hand, put into the left hand, and gave him the slap. Otherwise he would have injured with the metal. So those are some of the things. And then Mr. Chandraratna, somebody I can't remember now, I forget the name. His punishment, he squeezed the tummy. Konitana, you had to take it. Those are the punishments.
But those punishments were given with the motive of correcting the people, but not with a vengeance. Just because that they have to do.
Because the teachers are exemplary.
Exactly.
Teachers are real mentors. So when you look back, we said we deserve it. So we accepted it without any fuss. I still remember there was a time where Ekanayaka boy cricketers, they were hostelers, few others I can't remember. Ekanayaka, they were caught smoking in the hostel. Mm-hmm. Then they had a total shaven head. They had to come to school from hostel with a shaven head, 7 of them or 8 of them, to school every day. So that was a scene. So it was known. Mr. Rajapaksa, G.W. Rajapaksa, the warden at that time.
Right. So were you a hosteler by any chance?
No, never. I had the chance of being a sub-warden after degree.
Okay.
Working in school, because there was a tradition where Mr. Rajapaksa called, till your results are out, some graduates to come back and teach in school. So I was one of them, myself, Santana Rajapaksa, B.W. Veerasinghe, who is in New Zealand, Ranjith There were some of those.
Right. Who were?
So we were in hostel. We were given hostel accommodation. My salary was 60 rupees. And we had to stay. Food was free. But we...
As tutors for the students?
At the subward.
Subordinate.
But teachers, we taught.
Teachers.
We taught.
So that, did you take part in any sports activities by any chance? Or?
Yes, my sport career, I was a good badminton player, but I played for the school. But not at the star class, but I managed to represent school one or twice. Then athletic career was under Vijayadasa, but I didn't have money at that time to buy a new pair of spikes. So Vijayadasa, no way you can do sports. So I had to, second-hand spikes were bought, but he rejected. So that was my end of athletic career.
Oh gosh, okay.
Mr. K.L. Vijayadasa still living.
Okay. So you didn't have any other intention of going for any other sports? Oh, were there any sports at that time?
Yeah, tennis was there. Tennis was considered as a Kulbil, Bogalagam, other people like those people were playing. And athletic was the most popular. So swimming to some extent because the Marx brothers, Boris Marx and Geoffrey Marx. So therefore there were people who really went for swimming, but we didn't have a pool, so we used to go to St. Joseph for swimming.
Swimming as well, okay, fine. That was the scenario till the time that we had our own pool, yeah. Any society activities, doctor? Like, because you are a good orator, I can understand, you can speak, you can express yourself very fluently in Sinhala and English both. So were you
I
involved
was
with
the
debating?
vice president of the post-senior student English union.
Okay.
Arya Ratna was the president, who died very recently. He lives in Canada. Then Mr. S.A.G. Tilaka's son Padmavarna was in the committee. Few of the people I remember. Pusella, who is in the States, was the secretary of the post-senior student English union.
Okay.
So we had a post-senior English student and a post-senior Sinhala student.
So you involved with both?
Both. No, I was very much in English.
So there was a debating?
There was a debating, like we used to watch, I think, Mr. Sumanasekara, now Vidura principal, was one of the debaters. Then J.B. Disanayaka was not debating, but he was, I remember him as a scholar in the school. Like I can't remember the other names of Bodhinayaka. Not Ranapala, Ranapala's nephew.
Okay.
Who became a Buddhadasa Bodhinayaka. He was one of the debaters. Famous debater. Then we had WMK Vijayatunga, who died recently. Then Sunanda Mahendra Mal was senior to us. Okay. We remember how they had elections in school. We used to have elections for
what?
For the union selections.
Okay.
Sinhala union, English union, we selected. English union, of course, by and large, it was automatically unanimously selected. But Sinhala unions, post-senior union, normally we had elections. So I saw some posters campaign and all sort of those things were there.
And did you have nowadays like a prefect guild and something like that at that time in school?
We had prefects. We didn't have a separate society for them. Then we had some other group which are under the prefects. They are called disciplinary officers or disciplinary students who looked after the discipline and helped the prefects. Mm-hmm. And very much during the big match, they are supposed to be on the lookout for indiscipline.
Ground and look for the indisciplined students, which is a very difficult task, I don't think. So, doctor, now you have spent actually, that anybody would imagine, a full span of childhood at Ananda, from 1 to the senior level, which is mostly about 12 or 13 years of your time. So, having completed that, then you are now venturing out to your higher studies, that you got your selections to the university. So, just explain a little bit about how did you, not how, but when did you get selected, and to which faculty and to which stream, and was that your forte, or that was by accident that you got selected? There are actually, a couple of...
We never had a thought that we will fail. out of my class, only 2 people failed the university entrance. We had only about 17 in the HSC class. Out of that, 2, one went to, had a Czechoslovakian scholarship, Ananda, he went to Czechoslovakia. Other person remained in Sri Lanka, all others entered the university. So I joined the University of Ceylon science faculty, then it was in Colombo. And in 1962, I believe, then 67 or so I graduated. Then pending results, I came to college to teach for some reasons. Then about 9 months or 11 months, during that period, Mr. Perusingha was the principal, G.W. Rajapaksa was the vice principal. He was our mentor. So if you ask me, as a corporate management leader in the past, my first management exercise was given by Mr. G.W. Rajapaksa to run a carnival in aid of the Vihara.
Okay, okay. That's very important.
Yeah, Vihara. So I remember that was my first management. So he stayed in a closed room and he was consulted for issues. But we had to manage the whole science exhibition, industrial exhibition, then games, then various other stalls. Those are in the school premises.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a carnival of the year, those days.
When was this, if you remember?
In 63 or 64?
64.
No, after I graduated. It's 60s.
So when did you enter the university?
62.
62. So to the University of
Ceylon.
University of Ceylon at that time, no? University of Science, Faculty of
Science.
Faculty of Science. Okay. So you did
chemistry, physics, and mathematics.
Okay. Okay. Royal combination. They call it. They call it royal combination. I don't know for what reason.
But difficult.
Difficult. Yeah, I know. Difficult. So you completed your basic degree from the University of Colombo, and then you persuaded for higher postgraduate studies.
No, it was after. From there I joined college, and from college I selected as a management trainee of Ceylon Ceramic Corporation.
Okay.
So while I was there, unfortunately my wife's Bapa became the chairman. Then there was a little bit of, I was to go on a scholarship, but he was a little disturbed because whether it's been favored for me to get the scholarship. So I resigned from Ceylon Ceramic Corporation and joined the National Council of Higher Education.
Okay.
And as a statistical officer. From there I got the scholarship, Colombo Plan scholarship to the UK.
So that's your pursuit for your PhD?
PhD.
Okay. So PhD in which stream that you have?
It's called psychometrics, psychology and statistics.
Okay. Psychometry, psychology and
psychology and statistics called psychometrics.
Psychometrics, okay.
So I did in London for 3 years, came back and joined the university. Then National Council of Higher Education. Then I had a disagreement with Mr. Pascarilingam then on the Jaffna campus.
Okay.
So I left the university setup and joined SLEDA, Sri Lanka
Institute of Development Studies.
SLEDA, and from SLEDA to Bank of Ceylon, from Bank of Ceylon to Unilever.
Okay. So where did you have the longest career in your Unilever. For
17, 18 years.
17, 18 years you were with the Unilever Ceylon at that time.
Yes. Then it was called Lever Brothers Ceylon Limited.
Lever Brothers Ceylon Limited, yes. That's important. Lever Brothers Ceylon Limited. So you were there for about 17 years, and then you virtually joined the...
then it was some sort of a career which I had to involve with Mrs. Bandaranayaka and helped her in various movements in the country management.
Okay.
And
so
I never did politics, but I was behind her. I was in an advisory committee for the Sirimao.
Okay.
Others were Mr. Anuruddha Ratwatte, Somasara Dasanayaka, Ananda Anandian, then G.L. Piris, former Vice Chancellor Professor, he was in that committee. Then a few others, about 6 or 7. So I was the youngest member of that.
Advisory committee to the late Prime Minister
Sirima
Bandaranaike. Okay. So then after that, were you involved in the political career with Ms. Bandaranaike for some time?
I was in and out. While we were leavers also, I used to help Sirima Bandaranaike as and when required on policy matters. Then when Miss Chandrika Kumaratunga contested as the president, I was one of the campaign managers. There were 4 campaign managers for her. I was representing Sirima Bandaranaike.
Okay.
Then Naveen Gunaratna for Atula Mudali party. Then Hemsiri Rodrigo for Chandrika. One more I can't remember. Ravi Karunanayake. We were the 4 campaign managers for her elections.
Okay, for presidency candidate. Okay, fine.
But we were not politicians. We were behind the scene, making the campaign a professional outlook.
Okay. So now, how is your experience? You are 17 years at Lever Brothers Ceylon, because that's I think out of your career path, that's probably one of the multinationals or a privately oriented companies that you have been to, because all the other SLIDA or any other one, either state half state oriented or not so private oriented, but these are all regulatory kind of institutes.
I should say that I learned a lot in the public service, in the sense SLIDA, university, various other places in the public sector, including Bank of Ceylon, because it was a state bank and there were rules and regulations I learned. But I practiced what I learned in the public sector in the private sector, because I was allowed to practice, because there were good rules and regulations. Okay. So I implemented those things in the private sector.
Okay.
So I consider that as some sort of, I always used to say, I was trained by the public sector for the benefit of the private sector.
Okay, so that was unfortunate. It should be that.
I don't know whether fortunate or unfortunate. I enjoyed that life, because what I learned, I practiced at Lever Brothers Ceylon Limited under the chairmanship of Stanley Javadana for some time. But till he became the chairman, all the British people were the chairman.
Okay. So now, having completed span of your this exposure to the public, the private sector, and then you started some interest and get involved with the Ananda College All Boys Association as well.
Way back before, because when I joined Levers, when I joined college back as a staff member, pending results, there was a policy, one of the staff members represent school at the OBA, All Anandian.
Okay.
So I am being All Anandian, Mr. Rajapaksa wanted me to get into the executive committee of the All Boys Association.
Right.
So that is how I started.
Okay. When was this Doctor, if you can recall them?
68 or 68, 67, 68, 69.
Okay, right.
So that is how I joined. I was the youngest member in the executive committee. So it was...
Partly you were invited by the principal?
Not appointed, I was...
Invited by?
No, I was nominated by the school to represent the college tutorial staff at the OBA.
In the OBA, okay, fine. So that's a different arrangement. That was
Ranapala Bodhinara, the last chairman I worked under. Then before that there was... I forget the names also, my memory. Rasaputra was there, Dr. Rasaputra, then Thomas Samusuriya was there, GPA, Chief Justice GPA Silla was one of the presidents. Then Professor Ranasinghe was one of the residents. I actually joined as a member when Professor Ranasinghe was the president of the OBA.
OBA, okay. So that was the starting point.
Then I ended up with Ranapala Bodhinara. Wound up my work because I had to go to UK when Ranapala was the president.
So then from that time till that time you were involved with the ACOBA activities.
Yeah.
And you ended up during Ranapala Bodhinara's time
I had to go abroad.
Yeah, but were you still in the EXCO or were you holding any other positions?
No, EXCO.
Only EXCO member.
But I was doing something like preparing the register for the OBA. The OBA didn't have a register. They had only a CR book.
Okay.
So I started using the, I think, Gestet or somebody supported to recording all the members' numbers, addresses,
okay.
everything. All done by hand. By hand.
It's a data bank basically.
Concept which Dr. Rajaputra introduced to OBA, which I want to mention with due respect to him. We created something called Ananda Center. Right? So all Anandians get together, have some sort of a fellowship, as well as discuss country matters, share their management issues, corporate management issues, political issues. He had the idea of having a separate room where all Anandians can virtually like a small club.
Right.
See, so that they can share their thoughts rather than fighting in a committee meetings.
Okay.
So, but that concept was, I started it. We had the Ananda Center meetings in the library, Olcott Hall. It went off well, but after Rasaputra's leaving the OBA, didn't function.
So what are the other salient things that during your time at with Ananda College Old Boys Association that you can remember, like what you just mentioned about this Mr. Rasaputra introducing Ananda Center, something
then
like that?
Another quality which I really learned from Ranapala Bodhinagada, he was very, very punctual. I have seen few people at that line. One is Ranapala Bodhinagada. Even OBA meetings, if 4:30 means 4:30 sharp, he is there. And if there is no quorum, he shut doors. He said no meetings. We will postpone the meeting for next day. He went off. Punctuality is very, very important. The other person in my life I have seen punctuality is Madam Sirma Bandara. Very punctual. So after that, I haven't seen anybody who are punctual in anywhere.
Okay.
You see, unfortunately, because you waste others' time and it's productive time. That's a productivity.
Yeah.
So we assume that others will wait for us, or some other people will say no, it will start at 4:30. I'll come at 5 o'clock. He also comes late. So it goes on like this. One good incident is one of the prize givings at that time. I can't remember who was the principal. I was at the OBA president, I think. I was invited. And Chandrika Kumaratunga, as a chief minister, was the chief guest. She didn't come on time. So the principal was agitating with, I said, no, you start off. You can't allow the children and the parents to. So we started off without the chief guest. So Chandrika Kumaratunga had come and gone when she knew the prize giving had started. So that was a damn good lesson. We gave to her as well as to the people. Punctuality is very, very important. Appamadu, apatapadang also we have to practice that well. Even your meetings you have to start on time. And if you say don't have meeting for more than 1.5 hours, you can't sustain. If you are very constructive, if you are organized, nothing. Another organized person I have seen in my life is Professor G.L. Piris. When he was the Vice Chancellor, I was in the council. Always the council meeting was sharp at time starts, and it was virtually 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Everything was organized. He knew what he wants to tell the council, and he knew what he wanted the council to contribute. And he was very constructive. Unfortunately, I don't see Professor Piris having that character now, because he has become a political animal. Don't have it in the thing, but I call him Lakshman. But those are some other things which he has learned. I thought he will correct the political system with his experience, but it has failed.
So what were the important events that you have? One is of course that you said you were involved in the carnival that they have had for to collect funds for the Ananda Vihara. But other than that, the OBA.
I ran about four carnivals.
Oh my God! So you're carnival man basically.
I ran 4 carnivals as secretary. The first one was under G.W. Rajapaksa. That was my first training.
Yeah.
That really gave me the, and then thereafter, even Dr. H.S. Pereira and them wanted me to be the secretary of their carnivals because of that
exposure and the way that you have done it.
Power.
Fine. That makes sense for a lot of people. So your span ended up as being the president of the Ananda College All Boys Association at one point. For whatever you have contributed and for whatever you have excelled in your career with Ananda College All Boys Association, started off as an executive committee member. So when you became a president, then what were your the motives and what were your objectives to attain? You would have had some set of values that you would like to get at.
I was appointed as the president, I elected as a president at the most difficult time because there was a issue that Ananda should not be a Buddhist Sinhala school. So there was a lot of agitation right around. I had to fight with people like Jayampati Vikramatne because he was supporting the government and Madam Chandrika was supporting that type of ideas. We should not have this, we should have secular schools. That type of so that was we had a lot of meetings at various places which I had to command myself, manage the criticisms. So that was a very difficult period. Another difficult issue was the Saradharma period. Then we had a Saradharma walk at that time, first time, which we went fairly a long distance. I can through Bambalapitiya back to college, and I remember almost most of the people came for that. I think Vijayaratna Varakagoda one of those, Arjuna Ranatunga was one of those. Various key people joined that at my invitation.
Right.
Because at that time that Saradharma was getting diluted and Ananda lost that image that we had.
Okay.
And I don't know whether the current Ananda is just Ananda College only without Saradharma, I don't know, because I am not very close to Ananda. But when I see all Anandians, young Anandiyans, I don't see that very much except for Ude Budu Vandine Kai, Ude Gata Kiyane Ke Tara Man Dakin.
Okay, right.
But I can't make criticism. But that's all I see from college coming out. Because nowadays we ended up in the class as students, you the Tampawa Kiyala.
Okay.
Eke tibuna gatiya. Karujasura was 2 years senior to me. And we used to travel in the train together because he was boarded in Kalaniya. Karu Jayasuriya, C.C. Jayasuriya, myself, we used to walk to the Maradana station and go by train to Kalaniya. And then he takes the Valagoda road for his boarding place. I go behind the Barakaratte to Dalugama to my house, poor house. So it was, no, I think every era there is something learning cycle we have to do. I don't say that what we did them is valid now. But there is something which you have to carry on for the sake of the generation and for sake of the country. The country, more than country, I call it a nation. Nation means everybody is same. We had Tamils in our class. We were taught by Tamil teachers. We had Tamil girls in our class. We had in our class there were Tamils. So we consider the country as a one whole concept. Though we were fighting for Sinhala under Mr. Metananda. That was the system. Mr. Metananda also fought for Sinhala with the Sinhala Balavegaya. But he never forgot that Tamil is important. And even during time, we had Tamil teachers, we had Tamil pupils in the school. But we worked together, we lived together.
Okay. Fine.
So there were times where people from Jaffna College came to Ananda because Ananda was better school. Right students from Jaffna College came. Dharmasoka better students came to Ananda. Mahinda College better students came to Ananda because we had that focus.
Right. So when you became the president of the Ananda College All Boys Association, who was the principal at that time?
E.A. Perusena. Yeah, E.A. Perusa.
Speru Singh was the principal that time. So then you
And then N.A.P. Gunaratne.
AP Gunaratna was there. So you completed 4 years
During that period.
During that period. And
2 years, I think. Oh, 2 years, 4 years, I can't remember.
oh, now of course I'm sorry, 2 years. I'm sorry, 2 years. 2 years continuous and all that. So that was the time you said you were faced with that critical national issues.
We had to manage.
Yeah, we had to manage all that.
So that was something. I remember I was so criticized. I was forced to sit down by a old Anandian when I spoke for a secular system while having a Sinhala Buddhist school. But we should not forget, we should not go to the other extremes, saying that they can't exist. We have to coexist with them, but respect their religion, their values, their culture, as well as look after our culture, our values, our religion.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a difficult. Some didn't understand. One boy I still remember, old Anandian, and he was in the OBA. Chandrasekhara, he was at the extreme. He used to go behind me and shout against me at meetings. Ananda can't do that. But we had to change. But today, the basic issue is Ananda is run by government department. Our days, during even my OBA days, Ananda was separated from the government sector. He was respected as a separate special school.
Yeah, that's right.
I still remember I went and spoke to Education Minister Richard Pathira. So he said Ananda is different. Dr. Kabral, Ananda is different. Mama kine karanna. That's how we got down Damudabola. He refused to come.
Okay.
He refused to come because he wanted to look after Dharmaraja. But Richard Pathina said Ananda is much important than Dharmaraja. He forced him to come. In front of me, he spoke to Mr. Damanapala. That's how Damanapala was brought. That's how Ananda was treated by the ministry.
Exactly.
But today, are they about? So we had to cow down to minister's issues. Unfortunately. But the system is that. That is because we have lost the leadership, school leadership. Principal matters a lot. He had to stand up.
Yeah.
He had to sacrifice. Now they come to Ananda with the hope of getting promoted to another place for their benefit.
Yeah, that's right. So that has become a...
Those days people come to Ananda, retire from Ananda, because that is the pride they had.
So your time, 2 years, started off
I
with
had another problem, I think, during my time. Other issue was when Ms. Abhiratna was suspended.
That's right.
I had to fight against that decision. I remember I went and Tara email, I told her, you can do anything to Abhiratna but not to Ananda principal. You can't do that simply suspend Ananda principal. You can suspend Abhiratna, not Ananda principal. So there is a way of doing it. But they went ahead with doing that.
That was a time that they didn't also have a focus of what they wanted to do with Tara Dimel and all this, the politicians. And you, after that, who took over the presidency of the OBA, if you can recall, Doctor?
That's a good question. Can't remember.
That's fine. We will find out. We will find out. But you took over from whom then?
Parakka.
Paramolligode. Right. Okay. Sorry. That's right. Okay. So now you have now we discussed and we just elaborated your academic career, your corporate career, your public career, and then to the career with Ananda College OBA. And apart from that, I think you were involved in certain other social stratas also. Like, were you attached to a Buddhist organizations?
Yes, I was virtually Dayakya of Madi and Panyasya Nahanayakathero. I was the first secretary of the Turunu Savia. Not the first secretary, first junior secretary. First secretary was Guruge. Not Tevis Guruge. Ananda Guru. Ananda Guru was secretary Turunu Savia. I was the junior secretary. So then I subsequently became secretary of that Turun Savia. So I was the founder of the Turun Savia. So I used to help a lot of villagers, and because I got this idea when I was in school, we used to have we were supporting a school called in somewhere in Polonnaruwa. I went once, but Mr. Suryachi Kahavatta was trying to develop that village as a sister village of Ananda College.
Okay.
So with that experience, I helped Hamduru also to develop some of those days called border villages.
Right.
So still I am doing that. I have 2 villages which I mentor. One is in Suryapura, Kandale. That was Suryapura called because it was in the name of SKK Suryache, one of my class teachers, who named the area called Suryapura because he had a agricultural extension that area.
Okay. Right.
Then the other village I have is Palukatawava in Horopatana, which I go those days once a month, live with them, including my wife. We used to sleep in their thatch houses and eat with them and gave them the mentorship. Still they are in contact with us. Still the 2 villagers, at least once a month they will give a call and find out how my wife is doing.
Okay.
And so I said I can't come, but I will try my best before my departure to visit you all once. But they are in contact.
They are in contact. So that was one of the how do I say the
influence
social
from Ananda. Because from from that experience, that exposure forced me to help Hamduru. Then subsequently I helped Sobita Hamduru also in the Amadhyapya Vyapare, Taruna Sangvidhana, etc. with the same view.
Right. So
because Sobita, Madhulaya, Sobita and myself same age. He went to Karan University, Vidyalankara Pirivena. So we were very close to each other. And so much so, on record 2015 to Mahinda Rajapaksa of Perlanda, Sobita Handro, I was the first general secretary of that movement.
That was so. Yeah, I know that. No, that's okay. That's a personal perception on which you stand yourself. Yeah. That's fine, because we have to respect and agree on that one. Whether it's that way or this way, that's a different story.
But those are, I consider as Anandian, those are the experience I got from Ananda as a student, as an old boy, as a teacher, then subsequently in other world. All those experiences were useful for my upcoming
bringing up
to
on
this
that
level.
One. Okay, fine. So I think one last, no, not last, but just to conclude this one, then I would like to draw your attention and get into the other side of your life, because we have been only talking about the front side, the academics, the state, the public, the religious, the social and all that. But then looking back to your own life, there is obviously someone who would have stood by your side as your shadow and giving you all the courage, time, benevolence and also patience to do all these things. So tell us about how did you your meeting your better half and how did it happen?
I met my better half. I taught her, gave tuition. Her sister was with me in the university. That's how I came across her. But I never involved my other activities with them except the Ananda College activities. Carnival, she ran several stalls. Kopika Day was one of hers. And but other than other activities, I never involved my children nor my wife in those, because I took it my responsibility, because I didn't want them to get involved.
Right.
So even now I allow my children to have their own opinions. If they can acquire something from me, what I did, that is a different issue. But I won't work with them. So even today I am very independent.
Okay.
I am not a burden for my children. Younger chap, I have 2 sons. One is
2 sons.
One studied, elder studied at Ananda, other one at DS Seranayaka. He's in the UK. He had settled down there. He comes once a year. Elder fellow is Ranjith Kabral, who was in the OBA for some time. He is close by. That's why we came here, so that we are under his umbrella for any emergency. Other than that, I never got involved. My political platform, my family was never involved. My values, yes, I share with my children, but I ask them to take their own decisions in terms of values and other customs. But if I am successful, you accept it, but don't copy me. But I am proud to say so far they have never sold my name for any of the activities.
They have found their own way and got into the limelight. Okay, that's very good.
Though Mrs. Sirima Bandana has signed as a witness for their weddings.
That was a social star. No, that was nothing to do with politics.
That is the only thing.
That is the only thing. So then your wife was basically...
She was a Visakian.
She was employed by the time that you...
She entered the medical faculty, but I didn't allow her to go. So I said, your role is to be a wife, so I will look after the other part. So she refused to enter the medical faculty and worked with me and went with me to UK after getting married for my postgraduate. There he worked as a factory worker to earn money in the UK. That's how I brought the car.
Okay. So that was an interesting piece of experience to narrate to others also. And one final thing, Dr. Kabral, I would like to ask, having said all...
Call me Ranjith. Call me Ranjith.
One last thing I would like is to give your honest opinion about how the OBA should look at things and the way forward as we are now, taking into consideration the political strata of the country, the social background of the country, forget about the economics, but at least those two taken into consideration. How do you think, or what is your advice, or what is your guideline for the young old Anandiyans who are running around with Ananda College OBA Old Boys Association to make their contributions?
I won't give advices. I'll give my opinion, how I see. One is, I think the old boys, OBA should look after the old boys in terms of their growth, in terms of their jobs, in terms of their training, in terms of their growth in their life. Because we can't assume that all Anandis are good. We can't assume all Anandis are doing good. Can't assume that all Anandis are rich. There are from various stratas. So we have to stratify these things, and mutual help should be there. That is one. Number two is the school. But you should not dictate terms of school. You have to cultivate something where principal will seek your advice, principal will seek your help. Then you look out. But first priority should be old boys. Second priority will be the school. Third is important as well as the first two is the country. Whatever you do, think of the country. Whatever you do, think of the reconciliation activities. Think of it as not a single Buddhist country. It's not a single Buddhist country, it's one nation. There are Tamils, there are Muslims, we have to look after them also. They are our brothers. As a Buddhist, I might born again as a Muslim, I don't know. I might get married to a Muslim girl or a Tamil girl next time. I don't know. So we have to think of one country, one nation. We are all Manusya. That is the most important concept. We were brought up like that, like by Mr. Methananda's time. Mr. Gulratna also did the same thing, I believe, because though I didn't have much experience with him. But look at this country as one nation. All have the equality while respecting your own values, your own culture, your own Saradharma.
I think that makes us...
Finally, I want to give... I had a book here, where did I keep it? Education Aiming for Stars.
Okay.
So I will put this something like this. Ananda is aiming at creating stars, in whatever field, whether it's education, sports or politics. We have created stars. Our stars were S.A. Vikramasinghe, N.M. Pereira in the political field. Then we have education is like Professor J.B. Disanayake, Professor Appa Singh and them.
And the engineers like
BMA Balasurya, they are world renowned. So Ananda aiming for stars, that concept. Now this concept is written by Employee Federation Secretary General Franklin Amersing.
Okay.
One of the books I really value. His ideas, he talks about, though he's a Catholic, he talks about the Arya Ashtanga Marga, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kindly appeal to the OBA, put few of your members to how to implement this, how to inculcate this to current Anandiyans. So I will formally give this book to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ranjith. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
very much.
I have translated to Sinhala.
Okay.
I have translated to Tamil. That is e-versions that I will send across to you. So that is my final appeal for the college. Because after reading this, I thought I have missed the bus. Though I have acquired all these things without anybody telling me. Mm-hmm. But he has put it up beautifully. Ideas it will be. Try to conduct several workshops for the current students based on this. I will help as much as possible. Okay. Though my memory is not that strong now at my 80 years.
I don't think you have command a very good memory and very good recollection of the incidents.
Yeah, but because I always think about all these things. So that is my last appeal. Try to implement this at Ananda. Ananda will become a different school. That's all I want to say.
So, Ranjith, thank you so much. And wish you all good health.
Long life. Thank you. We are in the departure lounge. Yeah. I can't expect any more long life.
But long way to get the boarding pass.
You never know. So thank you very much for coming. Have a little bit of tea I organized.